Can I get a motion on our previous meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
All in favor? We have one piece of legislation coming before us. It's an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for painting of fire hydrants in the city of Akron and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is to enter into a contract. This is to actually put it out to bid. So we've painted about 2,500 of our fire hydrants. We have about 10,000 left. So this is going to put out a bid to paint about another 2,000. So it's pretty much, we've changed the spec just a little bit, but it's about the same as it was last time, with the three-step process with the cleaning and the primer and then the painting and the painting of the dome. The contractor thinks he can do it in 3 trips per fire hydrant. But this is just to put it out to bid.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Swirsky and Mr. Kilby?
The previous contracts, we did put them out to bid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we considered price and ability, professionalism, ability to deliver a good job?
Yes. They have to match our spec, you know.
Could you explain the spec a little bit?
Well, they use like a high pressure water. First they have to tarp the ground, and they use a high pressure water. They have to take off all the loose paint. Some of that paint could even be lead, so they have to protect against that. Then they have to let it dry. Then they have to come back and put a primer on. And the primers are Sherwin-Williams something, and it has to be so many mils thick. And I think that's $40-some a gallon to $50 a gallon. Then they have to come back, and then they have to put the top coat on. And that's another Sherwin-Williams, has to be the same thickness or mil. Then they have to come back and paint the dome, the top, because that's what the fire hydrant goes by, fire department. So when they roll up on a street and they see a fire hydrant, let's say with a, if they see one with a red dome, they know that's only like 500 gallons a minute. What they're looking for, the hydrants with the white dome. So if there's 2 hydrants across the street from each other or one door down, they're going to go to the ones with the white dome. So it's got to be the high gloss paint so they could see that in the middle of the night, because it makes a difference when they're fighting a fire.
So these are all things that are explained to them, and
oh yeah, it's all in the
they
spec.
adhere to,
Yep.
and you look at their track record.
Yes, sir.
As well as the price.
We're hoping to get 5 to 10 years out of these hydrants.
Okay. And in your guys' professional opinion, experience at this, say he's been doing it for years, you're now going to consider other companies that are quality that could deliver those specs?
They have to meet that, yes.
Okay.
So we're going to put it out to bids. How's it advertised? I mean, I know the person that's been doing this knows it's up for bids. How do we make sure? I know it's probably put in the newspaper, but how many people see that? Over the years, since you've been down there, Chris, how many different, has it always been the same company that bid on it, I guess?
We've only done this one other time.
There's only one company that's been
We've
bidding?
only done this contract one other time. We used to do it in-house, but we were only getting a year or 2 out of the hydrants.
Yeah. How many years have we been bidding it, putting it out for bids?
This will be the second of a 3-year bid.
Why can't we do it in-house? Manpower, is that what it is?
Part of that and part is the equipment it would take to buy. You know, we'd have to get another truck. We'd have to get, the pressure washer. You have to buy the paint, and you have to have somebody obviously do it.
Yeah. Well, we probably got some pressure washers, don't we?
Actually, we had an old pickup truck we used to use. We don't have it anymore, so we'd have to buy all the equipment again, and then we'd have to manage the project.
Okay.
So we did a business case, and we thought this would be more economical to go outside.
Okay. So you said there's 3 steps. First is cleaning it. Does that include, like, say, brushing the rusty spots before?
That's why they use the high pressure spray.
Okay.
It takes all the paint. It takes most of all the paint off.
Loose paint, and then
Yes, sir. And they clean it up. They have to let it dry.
Yeah.
And in our spec, They can't do it like, if it's a cool, cold morning and there's dew, they can't paint it. It's gotta be dry, so they have to go back. They have to put the primer on. It has to dry.
That's the second step, right?
Second step, then they have to come back a third time and paint the hydrant.
Okay,
And then at first, when they first started, they were going back 4 times and painting the dome.
yeah,
But what they did at the end, they sprayed it all on, and then they went back and painted the dome by hand.
yeah.
And we were really happy with the product we received.
And what color are they now, red or are they yellow? I can't.
They're all safety yellow, but the domes are white, orange, green, and
Okay,
red.
so that designates the pressure of the water that's on that particular hydrant, right?
It's not so much the pressure, because the pressure's the same in all neighborhoods, the gallons per minute.
Oh, okay.
So if this hydrant's on an 8-inch main, you might only get 500 gallons per minute. But if it's on a, let's say, a 16-inch main,
Okay,
then you're gonna get over 1,000 gallons a minute.
yeah. So this process is a little more complicated and meets the eye. That's why it's a little more expensive than most people think. Yeah, you know, getting back to my original question, why can't we do this in-house? We've been, I think, I don't know if we have the manpower. I mean, it's like, I think we should be doing things trying to save money naturally.
Well, like I said, when we did a business case, when we broke it down the last bid, it come down to $69.25 per hydrant.
Okay,
That's all in. That's all the steps, that's the manpower, that's the paint, that's everything.
okay,
And we didn't think we could even touch it for that price.
okay. So like when you prime it, does the whole fire hydrant need to be primed or just the bare spots? We have bare.
No, they prime the whole hydrant.
And do they spray it or brush it?
They spray it.
Okay, and then when they come back, they spray the top coat. So, do you have any idea, like, how much, 1 gallon of primer, how many fire hydrants would that do? Do you have any idea?
I do not.
It seems like it would probably do multiple fire hydrants to me. They're not that big, but, okay, all right.
Oh, so I'm going to open it up for any other council members that have any questions. Councilman Neal?
I know I've had a lot of comments on this fire hydrant issue, and it boils down to this. It's the expense, the $175,000 that we want to budget to paint 2,000 fire hydrants. I mean, we just did our city's budget. We had technically an $8 to $9 million shortfall where we had to use the money from selling cell towers along with the $1.2 million that we got back from the workers' comp to cover our payroll expenses. And an expense that's going to show up again in this year's budget. But yet we don't have cell towers to sell this year, and we're not going to get another $1.2 million in a workers' comp rebate check. So that $8-point-something million, we've got to find a way to cover that. This fire hydrant isn't going to cover that. You know, we know we've got a 57% poverty rate within the city of Akron. We have neighbors right up the street that have proven that they're painting their fire hydrants using TANF dollars. When we first looked at this, we had talked about how we could even add a citizens component, because we had citizens that came in and called and said, hey, look, I want to paint these fire hydrants. I think I used this analogy before. We all know that a Mercedes is a better car. On my income, I can't afford a Mercedes, so I drive a Ford. Still takes care of the same, I don't drive a Ford, but I'm using that as an example. Our city, in the financial position that we're in right now, I think we can do better than spending $175,000 to paint 2,000 fire hydrants. And you mentioned that we have 10,000 more to do. So that means if we use math, we're talking about spending close to $800,000+ to paint fire hydrants. When we could do it, if we use the example of our neighbors up the street, we could do the same thing for less than $20,000 a year. And even if they didn't last as long, we can still paint them every 2 years. And I can tell you, the fire hydrants, because ever since we've had this conversation, I've been looking at fire hydrants in my neighborhood. My fire hydrants don't get painted every 2 years. They don't get painted every 3, even if every 4. So, you know, I know, like I said, I've spoken on this issue a lot. I think as council, we need to look at if this is the best use of $800-something thousand over the lifespan of painting fire hydrants, or can we do better? I believe we can do better, and I'm saying that because just up the street, our neighbors in Stowe have proven that they can do it. And in surrounding communities, they do the same thing. So I'm not for putting this out for bid. I don't care who would win the bid. At $175,000, that's too much money. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a couple questions. What company was awarded the previous contract?
Tamarius Painting.
So right now, the bid will go out for $175 for 2,000 fire hydrants, so that comes to about $87.50 per hydrant, about that?
Well, right, but the bids last time, we did about the same thing, and they came in lower. That's how we got the $69.25 bid.
$69.25?
I think it came to about 138,000, maybe 138,500, I think is what the last contract was for. And it came to about $69.25 a hydrant, I believe it was.
So even if they come in at the $69.25 again, just as a go-to number, to paint the other 8,000 left, it's gonna cost us $554,000. If it comes in at $87.50, it's gonna cost us $700,000.
Correct.
Yeah, my only concern is just because the city's budget and we're being strapped the way we are, I just think it would be nice if we could keep this in-house, but that's, you know, I echo what Councilman Kilby said. It just seems like a lot of money when we really don't have it right now.
I mean, this is something we deem is very important to our Water Distribution Bureau.
Right.
This is water funds. This is not general fund money.
Okay.
I know it's money's money, but, I mean, this comes out of a different fund, and these fire hydrants, they're not only being painted for the looks of them,
Right.
it's so you can get the caps off. They're not rusted on. So the fire department shows up that, you know, we have to exercise these. We have to flush them. So it's to preserve the fire hydrant for a long term. It's just not the looks of them. Obviously, when they're
Right.
painted, fire department can see them in the middle of the night.
Right.
But they're not rusted, and like I said, you can get the caps off when you need to use them.
Right. So you said it's come out of the water fund, not the CSO fund?
No, it's out of water. It's just like replacing, it's, you know, just like replacing water lines and
Right.
everything else. It's an enterprise fund.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions, Mr. Kilby?
Yes, so we've only been bidding this out for 2 years, correct? Which department did it before? The water department? Who
Yes.
did it before?
Yes.
Mr. Kilby, you want to get a little, bring the
Oh,
microphone
okay.
to you.
The water
Thank you.
department, they
Water
did these
distribution.
before. Is it possible that they could do it again? Do we have enough people?
We used to do it
Working in the
on-house.
water
We used to,
department?
basically, we used, you know, we would just brush it off and paint it with a brush, okay? And they were lasting 1 to 2 years, and it was
Okay.
just a vicious cycle. And we weren't getting 2,000 a year, okay?
Why can't they do it to the same specifications that, you know, we're talking about the contractor doing it? Why can't they do
I
the
mean,
same thing?
this goes back to when we reduced our whole city staff by 30%. We
Yeah.
cut our staff, and this is one of the things.
Okay, so even if it's, the bid comes in at $69.25, how much does that come out to for 2,000 fire hydrants? I don't have a calculator. I mean, it's probably like 160,000, would you say, or 150,000? Does anybody have a calculator?
I do.
I don't have one.
138.50,
150?
138.50.
That's what it
Okay.
was
That's
last
what he
time,
said last time.
138.
Yeah, so in other words, the money comes out of the water capital fund. Now, I guess in the scheme of things, that's not a lot of money out of the water capital fund, but it's like everything else, it all adds up. And once, I mean, do we have money in the water capital fund to waste, I guess is my question, and if...
We don't consider it wasted. This is
I know.
preventive
Well,
maintenance.
It's like if we could save money, and you're not saving money, you could say that's a waste. I don't know. I mean, that's the way most people look at it. I know this is government. It's not like, you know, people that are on a budget at home, but, you know, I do all kinds of things on my car that I could take it to the garage and have it done probably better. No idea. You know, but I have to pay for that. Rather than do that, I go down to the auto parts store and do certain things for myself to save money. Now, I just think the city should be thinking along those terms, and $138,000 out of the water capital fund is $138,000, and, you know, in a few years, we're probably going to be asking, we're going to be raising the water rates again. I guess there's nothing on the horizon right now, but I just kind of would like to take time on this legislation and see if we could do it in-house. I mean, I'll make a motion to that, take time. Does anybody agree?
There's a motion on the floor to take time. Second.
I'm opposed. I don't see why we have to take time. This is painting fire hydrants. We have professional people in charge of this operation. But
So we have two motions to take time, one against. We're going to take some time. I'll talk to you guys a little bit after this is over.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else coming before us? If not, we're adjourned.
Did you vote?
You guys didn't take a vote.
Sorry. So the motion is on the floor to take time. All in favor? Yeah, I second it. I second it.
I vote no.
Those against? Two are in favor, one is against. Time has it.
It's 2-1, correct?
Yeah, 2-1.
All right, thank you.
All right, so if there's anything else coming before, if it's not, we are adjourned.
Mr. Beatty, it's not a public hearing.